Enjoy all your favorite sports like never before at BetMGM. Sign up using code CHAMPION and your first wager is risk-free up to $1,000. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 years of age or older to wager. Virginia only. New customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable free bets or site credit. Free bets expire 7 days from issuance. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-888-532-3500.
Welcome back to the Direct-to-Video Connoisseur podcast. As always, it's Matt here. And just a quick announcement. Looks like we're probably going to be going monthly with the podcast, at least for the foreseeable future. We'll see, maybe in the fall if things change a bit. But it seems like monthly seems to work out okay. But yeah, so we're going to that's where we're going to be for right now. And so this is going to be our monthly August post that we're doing here. And I am joined by two guests that are no strangers to the show. Two of our favorite guests who've been on probably have been on the most out of everybody. But welcome back, Ty and Brett from Comeuppance Reviews.
Happy to be here.
Hey, thanks for having us back on for, what is this, the sixth time? I was going to make a joke and say like 15, but is it really like 6?
I think so. So
okay.
So it was 2 in the original iteration of it that I did with Jamie, and then let me think. You guys were on for Reb Brown, the Rothrock list.
PM.
Let's see, the PM Entertainment list, the Skyscraper, and
wow.
Wasn't there one recently that we did too?
We did Marcini. I think that was
on your site, right?
Yeah.
Oh, so maybe that was but that would be 6 if.
Wow.
if they were there.
We are nothing if not mainstays of your podcast.
Exactly, yeah.
It's the Direct-to-Video Comeuppance Reviews Connoisseur podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a little unwieldy, but it can work.
It works. Exactly. It's what people kind of know and love, right? At this point that we're kind of always here. And I think it's because we it's always a great show too. I think we know like what we're going to talk about, or we kind of know the rhythm. And it works out that Ty and I are always chatting about stuff, and I think there's always like so many ideas for shows that it's just like, hey, let's just do this. Let's just let's pick a date. Let's pick a Sunday.
Absolutely, and I also think that we have a lot in common. Like our websites are very similar. We trod a lot of the same ground, so it's just I think it's a good combination of people, ideas, and content.
Yeah. It's when I was listening because, and we'll probably talk about this at the end of the show, but
sure.
You guys just released a new podcast for night movies, the movies that have night in them. And I think it's like I'm listening to it, and it's like either they're movies that I've seen before, and the takes that you guys have on them are either similar to mine, or it's like I get what you're saying, or it's movies that I haven't seen, but just hearing you describe, like, oh yes, that's one I need to get. Like I think Night of the Wilding, or is it just the Wilding, or the one with Wings Hauser?
And it's Wilding.
I can see why you'd be confused about this, and so maybe we can try and clear this up for people that might not have heard our podcast, which just dropped. I think that was yesterday. So Wilding was in the news a lot. What was called Wilding? You don't really hear it said that way so much anymore, but around 1990 or so, the Wilding was very much in the news, which I guess meant a gang of youths who would run wild in the park and beat up people and stuff. So like any good exploitation filmmaker would, 2 movies came out at the same time about this concept of wilding. One is Night of the Wilding, and the other is called Wilding, the Children of Violence. One thing they have besides the concept in common is they both have Joey Travolta.
He must really care about the plight of Wilding.
Because what are the odds that Joey would be in both Wilding movies?
Yeah, maybe he's writing these scripts or something. Yeah, where he's like coming up with these stories. It's funny because I think there was that period, right, in the 90s, and it kind of went further. I think it got even worse after we got out of school, but it seemed like these baby boomer parents who were like, used to like causing all this trouble when they were kids, when they became parents, it just like freaked them out. Like, it's like the drinking age went from 18 to 21 when the baby boomers became parents, and it's like they were doing things like having like, female or not even female, I think it was both male and female vice cops that could pass for teenagers infiltrating high schools to see if kids
it's like 21 Jump Street.
Right, exactly. 21 Jump Street.
A great movie, Brutal Fury.
Right.
I will never not mention if given the chance. That happens in Brutal Fury also.
Yeah, when I found out that they actually did that in real life, that like private, that like school districts and things like that would have like, somebody infiltrate a high school to see if kids are smoking weed. It kind of blew my mind. But yeah, and I think like Wilding was part of that, where it was just like, man, these kids they're so out of control nowadays, and they have no respect for their elders and all this horrible stuff. And it's like, really, they were just kids. They probably weren't any worse than they might not have been anywhere as bad as the baby boomers, right? I mean, the baby boomers were out there doing all kinds of horrible ruffian stuff.
Well, and the previous generation, had juvenile delinquents, and there was a blackboard jungle, and they were smashing records and listening to Elvis, and I mean, it goes back and back and back. But this was the beginning of what is now called helicopter parenting, where everything the kids did was micromanaged, and they didn't want them to do anything really, and then which inevitably led to everybody gets a trophy and all this kind of stuff, which has hurt the young generation. And
although now there's just kids on leashes. It's like...
Well, that started. I remember kids on leashes when I was a kid. I think it started when kids would go on field trips, and then they'd all be on this big leash, and so the teacher could sort of like keep track of them all. Then it became individual leashes, and
like, Billy, you can't go this far. Oh, okay. Whoa! And he gets pushed back.
Right. And so because it makes sense, like the logical conclusion of that would be Wilding, right? That like, like one night of kids going out smashing windows in an abandoned warehouse turns into this like gang of ruffian kids in leather jackets and bandanas, going out there and just trashing places and, taking over the city at night. And it's up to a couple of baby boomer cops like Wings Hauser and Joey Travolta to save the day.
And also they say their names
pretty
weirdly.
Much nailed it. And also let's not forget that Eric Estrada is involved in one of them.
Yeah, Night of the Wilding, right?
But it's want to do. Yeah, Night of the Wilding, and has a great song. And
Wilding has a great song, right? Or does Night of Wilding have a great song?
I'm thinking of "Don't Try to Stop Tomorrow."
Well, yeah, from Wilding, Children of Wilding.
Yeah, it's very Pat Benatar-esque, very catchy. If you hear it, you'll be stuck in your head.
That's awesome. Yeah, and now which one is the one, Ty, that you showed me the trailer for? Where it's like Wings Hauser.
Regular old. It was the Wings Wilding. Where they say his name wrong. So Wings Hauser and Joey Travolta.
That's right.
Wait, they say Joey wrong? I think they
Joe.
They call him Joey Travolta.
Yeah,
like Joey Behar.
Yeah. Behar. I'm doing the gun motion.
Yeah. Should have been an action star.
Yeah, smash people to death.
Should have been an action Behar.
Yeah, should have been action Behar. Bay star, right? She's a Behar's Bay star.
Yeah, can you imagine Behar and Travolta? It'd be Joy and Joy. And
that'd be really hard for that one announcer to get his mind around.
Wait, how can they both be Joy? I guess it's like there and there, right? That's yeah. Well, now one of the things I wanted to chat with you guys about is so this week on the site, I was doing a kind of a Shark Week thing in honor of the Shark Week that's going on at the Discovery Channel, just because I have like all these shark movies that I've watched that I need to actually review at some point. So I was like, why don't I just do 3 of them for the site? And one of the things that's interesting is I watched Shark Attack 2, which was made in 2000. So I'd done part 1 with Casper Van Dien, and then of course part 3 with the famous John Barrowman line. I'd done those ones and was like, oh man, I should do part 2. And one of the things that was interesting, I noticed, because I was watching some of the newer ones as well for the site, like the Sharknadoes and whatnot, is that it seemed like in the 90s you had like these straight ahead shark attack movies where there was goofiness, there was cheese to it, but it felt like they were just kind of trying to play it straight, like just do a straight like Jaws ripoff. And if it was cheesy, or if it was meant to be intentionally cheesy at all, they didn't really let on that it was. Whereas it feels like the modern shark movie, the modern DTV shark movie, is all about being as goofy and over the top as possible, and like the filmmakers showing us how much they're in on the joke. I don't know if you guys have noticed something similar to that, or what you think of that trend.
Well, go ahead, bro. I can say something.
Yeah, go ahead, Doug.
Well, I mean, now there's like 400 head shark attack. Right. There's like they run out of heads. It's like you usually just have 2 heads. Now there's 4 heads, and that stars Urkel. And it's just like it's a little choked of irony.
Well, I think that's kind of where I was going to go, is basically it somewhat ran itself into the ground. Like when a genre kind of becomes self-referential and parodical, I guess if that's a word, where they're parodying itself, then it's kind of reached the end of the road, kind of the end of the tether. So yeah, of course it makes sense that when these started that they're going to play it somewhat straight. And then I mean, there's only so much shark action you can provide, so then they have to start getting goofier and goofier and goofier, and then pretty soon they're postmodern, they're ironic, they're self-referential because they've hit the end of the road. So that would be what it seems like to me, but I'm not necessarily an expert in the shark canon, so tell me if you agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things I noticed when I did the Shark Lake movie that had the Dolph Lundgren in it, which that one was a little bit more like the 90s straight ahead style. And it had the lead actress was Sarah Malakul Lane, who was in those 2 kickboxer. What are those, reboots or sequels? The new ones with Van Damme and Alan
must
Moosey.
Be reboots, right? Because he's not. Well, I don't know. He's playing a different character, right?
Right. Yeah. So I guess they're reboots. Yeah. So there's something or whatever there. But she was in those, and I noticed when I looked through her IMDb thing, I noticed that in 2010 she did Sharktopus. So Sharktopus came out in 2010.
Wow.
And you'd think that would be like kind of the logical conclusion of this. Like that's as over the top as you can get, right? If you're doing a movie called Sharktopus, that's it. No more goofiness. We've canned the goofiness loud. But instead, of course, it just kept going from there. That and then I mean, Sharknado was what 2014, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, 2013, and so Sharknado comes around and just keeps it going. Like Ty, you mentioned the multiple head shark attacks. Like,
yeah.
Just by me typing in like shark attack for like the shark attacks 1, 2, or 3,
mm-hmm.
If you type in shark attack 2, 2-headed shark attack comes ahead of it. If you type in shark attack 3, 3-headed shark attack comes ahead of it.
It is too many heads.
Right, exactly. So it's like, I think it's I mean, and I don't know if it's like the audiences really want this, or if there's sort of a cynical feeling that like it's like the sci-fi channels is going to buy it if you do it.
See, that's the question I always have. When you think of the genre of science fiction and you think about the great authors that have written it, like Isaac Asimov and the rest, Arthur C. Clarke, I don't know if that's what they had in mind when sci-fi. Notice the changing of the spelling when they went to sci-fi, as we call it, SYFY. Then it's just basically a bunch of CGI muck. I don't know if that's really even true to the spirit of what science fiction even is or what it's supposed to be.
I thought you were going to say L. Ron Hubbard for another science fiction writer.
Actually, he is. I mean, despite everything, I think he is considered a kind of big figure in the science fiction writing world.
He's one of our personal greats.
But I don't know if these great authors of the past, and there's probably a lot more, because again, not really my area of expertise, but I don't think these great authors of the past had this idea that Tiffany and Debbie Gibson would be slapping each other in front of a green screen.
Well, yeah, it's interesting you mentioned it. Now, one of the things with the change in the name, I think they had to change the name because I don't think you can copyright sci-fi as SCIFI. I think that's probably why they did it, right? Is that what it was? Because they
I don't know. I think they were just.
I wish I knew, because my feeling on that is they were just trying to be cool.
Right.
Like remember when Radio Shack became The Shack?
Right.
I think that's what they were trying to do. Like, well, SCI, well, that is so uncool. Let's shorten it to SYFY. Meanwhile, Siffy sounds a little bit like a STD.
Right.
So, maybe not the best move, but maybe that's the type of thing that they were going for. Lowest common denominator. I don't know. I don't think it's a good move. I think they should do more high-minded stuff, but that's just me.
I'm waiting for Mind Walk 2, right? Is that what the...
But maybe maybe they did some sort of calculation, stuff like Mind Walk or whatever that challenges people. That's not going to get eyeballs on the screen. But Jared, the subway guy, being eaten by a CGI shark, will. I mean, I think it's pretty cynical,
But
if that indeed is what's going on, I think it's pretty cynical stuff. But I don't know for sure, so I don't want to cast aspersions.
Well, you remember in the 2000s, right? The kind of like the mid to late 2000s. Battlestar Galactica, which I wasn't as big a fan of because I was like the old one better. I'm a huge Dirk Benedict fan, so
are we all?
Right, yeah. Exactly. but if you remember, that was kind of like up there with The Sopranos and Sex and the City and some of those other appointment viewing TV shows at the time. Battlestar Galactica is what we would think of like The Walking Dead now. I don't think they had a TV show immediately after Battlestar Galactica talking about what happened that episode.
But Talking Galactica.
Talking Galactica, yeah.
Talking Galactica. But if you remember, that was a huge deal at that time. And I don't know if I know they tried to do a show called Krypton that was like a preview pre the planet blowing up thing that ended up getting canceled as a TV show, which I don't understand if they're going to make a show like that, why they wouldn't just try to tie it in with the whole Arrowverse thing that was so popular at that time. But I think they just had missteps with their TV shows. At the same time, it's like they do Sharknado and it's this huge 2.5 million person viewer event thing. And I think you're right. It is kind of a cynical thing because if you think about it, again, I'm not the biggest fan of Battlestar Galactica, but it was a quality TV show that, people were and I don't know, maybe that show didn't do the kind of numbers. I probably didn't do the kind of numbers on a weekly basis that Sharknado did each time they rolled out a new Sharknado. But yeah, it's, you'd think that if they but maybe that's what it is. They feel like the amount of effort that goes into making a Battlestar Galactica is such that why not just pump out a Sharknado for $2 million and actually make Asylum pay for it, and then we'll buy it from Asylum and show it and get the ad revenue.
But what's interesting is for every Sharknado, there was probably 1,000 duds that no one watched, but they just kept going. So it's not like they had this one big hit and hey, here it is. To lead up to Sharknado, there was all those other ones that really didn't create any what you might call cultural traction. People weren't talking about them. There was no ad tie-ins. I remember going to Subway back when I used to go to Subway because I don't like Subway anymore. But they had these tents, these table tent things on the tables advertising Sharknado. So there were these corporate almost tie-ins with Sharknado. It was that big, which is unheard of for a sci-fi. You could never imagine that for any of their other things.
They got Creepy Jared to be in it, so it's like.
Well, yeah, and that was the tie-in, I guess.
Yeah, but haha, he's in jail, haha.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, those two didn't, because it was that one and Matt Lauer, so it's like they kind of
he needs to go to jail too.
I know, they got that's really out of the. Apparently, Bill O'Reilly was supposed to be in part 3, and he turned it down. Can you imagine that trifecta? You've got Lauer, O'Reilly, and you just would have needed Louis C.K. in one of them. Yeah.
Well, I believe Ann Coulter was going to be on board. I think she was going to be the president.
She was in 3.
She was in the 3rd one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen them, so I but so I guess they couldn't go for O'Reilly, so they went with Coulter. I kind of see the thinking there.
But see, they trick you because you want that's funny. She's in there, but she gets 5 seconds of screen time, and that's it. It's just you funny she had more of a pivotal character. It's just
yeah.
Well, how about should have been an action star?
Ann Coulter?
Coulter.
Okay. That's a good last name. She could be like a Cynthia Rothrock type, maybe.
It's a very good VHS box art last name, right? Coulter.
It is. Yeah, that's a good observation.
Yeah, you can see her with the long blonde hair.
Yeah.
Maybe a black leather jacket holding up a gun.
Oh my God! It'd be great.
Yeah.
Maybe on the back part of the video jacket, video box, the hair would be in the blonde hair would be on the back too. So her hair,
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Then like there'd be like a brief description of the movie, but the backdrop is like the blonde hair.
It's the blonde hair, and then she says, I can't think of a cool name. I don't know. Jane Jones is on it. It's on
Was that the name of someone in a movie we watched? Like Lady. No, but I think you're close to a name of.
It's Jane March.
No. Who's in Mr. Wait, no, I'm getting all confused.
All right.
In Lady Bloodfight.
Oh.
I think her name was something like Jane Jones.
I can look that up. I mean, you can do.
We'll see how close I am. But let me ask Matt. While you're doing that, I have a question. Have you seen Jersey Shore Shark Attack?
I did see that one. I will say I like Tony Sirico in that one. From he was in Sopranos. He did some did Goodfellas and movies like that. I got a kick out of him in that. But yeah, that's what I have seen. I was going to review it this time. The problem is it's not available for free anywhere, so I couldn't get any screenshots of it. I needed to probably watch it again too.
Oh,
okay.
Brett, you were right. Brett?
What's her name?
Jane Jones.
Okay,
How do you remember that?
I have no idea. My brain works in mysterious ways. I can't remember important things, but I can remember the name of a character from Lady Bloodfight, which we watched years ago.
Or maybe she could be Jane Coulter or something like that. Just the last name. And then
like a Tony Danza kind of thing, how he only plays characters named Tony.
Right. Well, I was thinking we could do like 2 Republican presidents, like she could be like Reagan Bush, Detective Reagan Bush or something like that. So it's like really trying.
Well, it'd be like Liberty and Bash,
Right. Reagan and Bash.
Right, who was Liberty and who was Bash?
Right.
Well, that's who was hard case, who was fist.
Right. Right. We never know with those kinds of things.
Yes, and you understand there's a Mike Tyson hosted shark show, and he doesn't punch any sharks.
Yeah, I think it's like all that kind of clickbait. They seem to do a clickbait thing now every year with the Shark Week, the Shark Week thing, don't they? Because didn't they say that Phelps, the swimmer there, was going to race a shark, and of course he didn't.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
you never did that, huh?
Right. It was because they were like in a different pool or something. Like they weren't near each other or something like that.
Fake. It's by a CGI shark.
Right. I think they've been doing that every year. So I think that's what this Tyson thing was. It was another clickbait thing where it's like, is he going to fight a shark? And he doesn't.
But they should go back to Man vs. Beast. Remember that show? I think it was a one-off on Fox.
Yes, it was.
Or like, someone would, race a cougar through an obstacle course, or I don't know, something like that.
Or when animals attack. Right.
Yeah, remember when Fox, it's in the early 2000s, really exploitive, and they did all sorts of stuff like that? They should go back to that.
Yeah, those were made for some. I think they put them on Friday and Saturday nights, and
because it's the perfect time.
Yeah, it was.
You're drinking your Budweiser and you're watching when animals attack in the 90s.
Life. But see, now they don't need to do it because we have YouTube, Vimeo, Dailymotion, other streaming websites where you can watch any sort of animal attack video you want. So I don't think it would garner that many eyeballs.
Yeah, that's why I was surprised to find out that America's Funniest Home Videos was still on the air, because it's
still on.
Yeah, how does that work when it's you just log on to Twitter and look at what's trending, and it's going to be whatever the funniest home video is.
No, that's a good point. But see, much like Sci-Fi and The Shack, they shortened it to AFV.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So I guess, and they took out the H, because I guess home videos is not part of this anymore. Yeah. So it's AFV. It's not America's Funniest Home Videos. It's AFV. So with the proliferation of phones and the ability to film anything anywhere, I guess you can film lots of kids falling down the stairs or whatever it is. So, but that's the thing. How come this stuff was being filmed in the first place? There'll be a video of some guy towing a boat and the boat sinks or something. Why were you filming towing a boat? Why? That's the most boring thing ever. Why were you filming it in the first place?
I feel like it might be staged, then the boat blows up. And of course, everybody laughs. It's the guy had third-degree burns. But you're laughing.
People have serious, grievous injuries, and everyone's laughing it up in the audience.
And he doesn't even win the prize. It's
he's sitting with bandages on his arms. Yeah, it's waving to the host with the bandages on his arms.
Right. That's literally insult to injury.
Right.
I mean, Yeah, so you're rewarding the stupidity and injury of people. Maybe not the best message, but it's like you said, it's been on since the '80s, and Bob Saget. See, Saget's not involved. See, that's another problem, I think.
Right. Yeah, he. I think for him, it was like he cashed all those checks from Full House and America's Funniest Home Videos, and then realized, like, when he went out to be a comedian, that nobody took him seriously, and he was like, man, I gotta get back. I gotta be like, I gotta do blue humor again or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's why he did all that blue humor, because he was trying to run from his Full House and America's Funniest Home Video image.
His Danny Tanner life. That's why there's Farce of the Penguins. Remember that?
Yes.
How could I forget? But I mean, if you had those two hugely popular syndicated shows, Bob Saget is probably so rich that he probably doesn't have to do anything that he doesn't want to do. Because once your show goes into syndication, you are set. And he had 2 shows in syndication. So he's probably so rich, it's unbelievable.
I'm still waiting for Father and Scout too, but...
Well, aren't we all? Is it Brian Bonsall? Is he involved with that?
That's a good memory. I think is he the Scout?
I think he might be the Scout, but I might be confusing that with Family Ties, so I don't know.
Yeah. That was a great thing about sitcoms. And I don't know if sitcoms still do that, where it was like, you had this family that had kids that once they got so old, they decided that they needed to just have them just add a new child to the mix.
Oh yeah, it's called Add-A-Kid.
Yeah,
it's one word, Add-A-Kid. That's what they call it in the TV biz. So we need to do an Add-A-Kid.
Yeah.
Well, there's Family Matters with 3J,
Growing Pains, Chrissy.
Right. Yeah. Chrissy.
Raven Simone on the Cosby Show. The list is endless.
Yeah, it's an amazing thing, and it's like. And the Brian Bonsall one was probably the weirdest because it was like they didn't plan really well with Jennifer as the daughter. It's like they had to have known how old she was, and that it wasn't going to take long for her to not be a kid anymore, And I guess they just wanted this idea of her being a kid, and I don't know. And I think the other thing too is, especially in the '80s, they were afraid to really get into some of those really nitty gritty. Social issues at the time. I mean, obviously with Growing Pains, you didn't have any choice because Kirk Cameron wouldn't do any of those things because he was already born again at that point. But it was like, you didn't want to talk about, Mallory's drug addiction issue that would have made for a great story arc, So it's like, let's just bring in a baby and go through baby stuff again.
Well, what's funny is that this could be a false memory, but I seem to remember the Brian Bonsall character on Family Ties was troubled. Wasn't he troubled?
I can't answer that.
I think he might have had tantrums, and every '80s sitcom did have a very special episode. In fact, there's a book called A Very Special Episode, which is all about him. I mean, obviously there's the famous one from Different Strokes, and
yes.
I mean, that kind of set the standard for the very special episode. But I mean, Mr. Belvedere had one. They all had one. Yeah. So, but I think once they added a kid on Family Ties, I believe he was troubled. And your listeners can write in if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he was.
No, I think you're right. I think you're right about that. They show that on one of the retro channels, and so every once in a while I'll catch an episode of it. But it's usually more like just like Nick and Mallory saying goofy things, and Alex trying to scheme some kind of muddy thing that doesn't work out or whatever.
Well, Scott Valentine did have a good DTV career.
Yeah.
Which can kind of bring this train around because
where we were.
We haven't even started talking about Dacascos yet.
No. I think it's a good point. We kind of got off track there, but the thing with Dacascos was that I'm getting close in October to doing our next round of Hall of Fame inductions. And of course, you guys were with us last year when we got Reb Brown in there into the Hall of Fame. And so I'm probably going to do like a bigger one this year. And I've been seeing Dacascos and stuff recently. We were talking about Sabotage and those ones. And I know you guys have Dacascos in your Hall of Heroes. And I was thinking, like, why don't I have him, in the Hall of Fame when there's nothing I don't like about, it's not like I don't like him, or there's like one of those things like he kind of rubs me the wrong way, or he does a lot of bad roles or something. It's like, even if the movie's bad, I like Dacascos, and I felt like, maybe we should give him his due in a podcast and really discuss it. But before we get into the list that you have, Ty, what are you guys' thoughts on Dacascos?
Well, go ahead.
Ty?
Oh, okay, I'll go ahead. Okay, who wants to go ahead?
It's tough when there's 2 people, but really fast. I'll just go really fast. Okay. Like you said, he's more of a mainstay. Like you said, he's been in the DTV movies all throughout the '90s. like you said, even if the movie is not the best, he tends to give his all. I mean, physically, he's great. He's a good fighter. I mean, as actors go in these things, he's better than a lot that are out there. And so he's sort of like, I would say, a dependable DTV actor that seems to be in a lot of video store choices that we all made in the 90s. So I definitely think he's a worthy inclusion into your Hall of Fame.
You can't really go wrong. It's like, oh, Mark Dacascos is in this. Yeah, I'll check it out. You know, that includes Double Dragon or Instinct to Kill, Sanctuary. It's like, you know, those aren't the best movies, but he's good in them. So,
yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, and he does a good amount of TV stuff as well. It seems like, you know, like he did, like, you know, martial law episodes, things like that.
The Crow show. That was a great program.
Yeah, and I think that was the problem with that Crow show, is it didn't go that far. I think that was maybe like, I think that was supposed to be his, I don't know if we want to say Reno Reigns, if that's a good comparison.
Well, it could be his Renegade or his Highlander.
Yeah. And I, you know, only, for whatever reason, it only lasted 2 seasons. And part of the reason why it only lasted 2 seasons was it came in towards the end of the syndicated TV wave, whereas like Renegade came out and Highlander came out in like the early 90s, when it was like, you know, that train was still huge at that point. I think cable TV hadn't really taken over making its own programming to the same extent that as the 90s were on Crow 2. It just didn't quite work. And I think that maybe that's kind of the hallmark of Dacascos' career, right? Is that, you know, he gets a blockbuster in Double Dragon, doesn't work out. You know, Crying Freeman was a pretty solid film, doesn't get released in the United States, and it just seemed like, you know, he had a lot of those situations that prevented him from being that next level. You know, that you know, the guy, because like you talk about, I mean, he has the screen presence in the martial arts to be as good as any of the big names that we think of, you know, the big screen names.
Yeah, I agree. And luckily, we did get a chance to see him on the big screen in John Wick.
Yeah.
The third one.
So,
yeah,
the third one. So, so that was good to see. And so occasionally he will pop up in a theater released movie, but I mean, you know, if Robert De Niro is going direct to video, what hope does Dacascos have, you know?
Right.
So,
exactly.
I mean, it's not his fault that, you know, all they do is make superhero movies, but I think he could be in these theater movies. Like if it was the early 90s again, or the late 80s, and who doesn't want that? He definitely could have been up there. Like Jeff Speakman was going to the theater back then. Dacascos definitely could have.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, I mean, I think on that note, why don't we dive into the list here and see what you have for us, Ty? I think this is I'm excited to see what you got and see how.
So am I. Because, you know, we're trying something new here. I don't know what Ty has. For the most part, I have somewhat of an idea. I know it's on one of his lesser, because we have some good ones and some lesser ones. I know what one of those is, but I don't know the order. I don't really know why.
Yeah.
So
I did mention one of the worst words. Well, one of the weaker ones. One of the weaker ones. So. Okay. We'll start with the good ones, right?
Yeah.
So I guess at number 5, I have The Base.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's an underrated.
It's a Mark L. Lester directed movie, correct?
Yes. So
yeah.
What's great about that movie is that he goes undercover in the Army, or was it the Marines or the Army?
Yeah.
And then right in the beginning, he has to beat up a bunch of Army men.
Right. So to prove his worth, it's like, because I guess they're out in like their training camp and they're training, and he shows up and then he has to fight him in like a sand pit or something.
And that happens in The Base too. Guilty as charged with Antonio Sabato
Jr. has to do it.
Yeah.
It's the exact same scene. We cracked up. It's like, again? We just saw this.
I mean, it's not like that scene is that great that they really needed to replicate it. It's just a bunch of men fighting, but they really felt the need to do that again.
Right. Remind us it's a Base movie. And I think the thing too, like this is like a Point Break paradigm. Is that a proper, like we think of like the Die Hard paradigm? Is that a proper one? Like the Point Breakers, it's like the infiltrating.
Point Break. Well, people don't really want to, the Point Break's about surfing. Like, whoa, surfing. Whoa.
Right.
It's like,
but I think I know what you're saying. To infiltrate like a community of sorts.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Fast and the Furious is probably the best of those, right?
Well, Point Break is the best.
Saw that for the
Right,
first
Point
time.
Break is the best of them. Right, Point Break is the best. That's a good point. Point Break is the best. It's the most popular of that paradigm, or the rip-off version of it, I guess.
Or the
What's that?
DTV version.
Right.
You know. So I mean, it's maybe not one of his more widely seen movies. So if you're interested at all in Dacascos and you've seen the major ones, maybe check out The Base. You know.
Well, what's interesting about The Base? Oh, do you want me to do how we got to watch The Base, Brett,
Yeah.
back in the day? All right, so
Sure.
okay, so in the old days of Netflix, 2005, it's like, well, we used to work at a video store, as you mentioned, Best Video in Hamden, Connecticut, and I ordered The Base, but they wouldn't take it. So it's like, okay, that's it. We're getting Netflix. So
Yeah, that was kind of catalyst for us to get Netflix because
it was The Base. Yeah.
Yeah. Because this video store we worked at really didn't want to add The Base to its stock.
Oh.
So we thought, the hell with this. We'll get Netflix. So it might seem a little weird to be working at a video store and have Netflix, but it had to be that way because, mainly because Ty wanted The Base.
I wanted that's why I wanted The Base and I wanted it now. So, like,
and here we are talking about it on a podcast. So it's all worth it.
Like I just remember like The Base, Mark Dacascos, he's shooting people. I need to see this immediately, and I think I said it to you, Brad, back and like I gotta see this movie. So that's how I act.
Okay, I think I was amenable to that idea.
Let's see anything with The Base. Oh right, Tim Abell,
Yes,
and Paula Trickey from from Back Blue.
Right, exactly. I was going to say, yeah.
We're talking about syndicated television.
Yeah.
But I think Tim Abell, if I'm not wrong, was in the military in real life.
Yes. Yeah, he was a ranger in real life. And so it's interesting because he gets a lot of these military roles. And I think people think, well, because he's in the military, he does so well. But he does a lot of stuff beyond that, I think. But I think for... and he also he's friendly with a lot of directors like Fred Olen Ray. He and Fred Olen Ray are buds. And maybe Mark L. Lester, maybe at that time he got to know him. Also Isaac Florentine. And so I think they know, like, if we bring him in, he's going to just nail it on, not many takes, and he can work on a quick shooting schedule and under budget. And so it seems like that's like he's a mainstay for them. I think they kind of know what they're going to get with him, and so that's what they appreciate.
Well, what's that movie you watched?
And there's,
go ahead, Brad.
Sorry.
No, go
ahead. They'll probably get, as a sort of a side benefit, that they'll get some military accuracy as well. Mm-hmm. Which not all those movies have, from what I've been told. But I wouldn't know.
And, back in the 80s when they made Platoon, they had that guy, Dale Dye.
Right.
And he was in the movies, too. He had, like, white hair. And he didn't look like a military guy. He could have been his own action star.
Well, and I think probably the best example of that is Arlie Ermy.
Right.
Oh, well, yeah. So if you could get Arlie Ermy, they can get Dale Dye. And, of course, I can't think of it now. The train of thought.
But wasn't he in Endangered? Didn't he do, like, some direct-to-video? Or
I think so, yeah.
I think he's in Endangered with Martin Cove.
Martin Cove had that great outfit. Did you see that one? He had, like, a kind of a fringe jacket. Like a Seagal.
Yeah, and I think and Aiello, not Danny, is in it.
Yeah, it's Rick Aiello.
Rick Aiello, yeah.
But they put Aiello on the cover?
Yeah, Aiello.
Exactly. They pulled a death ring.
Yeah.
That's what that's called, right? When they misleadingly use a celebrity brother but don't mention the first name, that they call it pulling the death ring.
Yeah, it would be funny if Aiello was in death ring, because that'd be perfect. It would have been McQueen, Aiello, and Swayze. So and
McQueen. Or did you say McQueen?
I said McQueen, yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because you think about speaking of Tim Abell, he was in that movie Sniper Special Ops that Fred Olen Ray directed. That's that Seagal's on the cover, where he's photoshopped on a more svelte actor. But they pull an interesting death ring because they have Seagal, right, who's not in the movie much, but then they do for Rob Van Dam, they put Van Dam, right?
Oh, that's pretty low.
Right, exactly. And I mean, most of us know that, like, Seagal and Van Dam, like, Seagal doesn't like Van Dam. I don't think he likes a lot of other action stars, but he definitely doesn't like Van Dam. And so we know, like, that's not and also, we also know how to spell Van Damme, so that's the other part.
See, when you said they had Seagal on the cover, but they were pulling a death ring, I thought maybe there was like a Larry Seagal that they had gotten.
No, that would have been awesome.
That's not a bad idea. There's got to be other Seagals around besides Steve.
Yeah. Maybe they got George Seagal.
Yeah.
He could be in action. I mean, he's getting a little long in the tooth, but
he was in Joshua Tree with Dolph Lundgren.
Right, he was the villain.
Yeah, so he can do it for sure.
They were so close to being Seagal and Seagal in the same movie. Maybe someday.
And George Seagal is in Direct Hit. Did you? William Forsythe and Richard Norton.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes, that's right.
So,
good memory.
Oh, thanks. It's like, oh right, George Seagal. Seagal. Van Damme. Not
but that's all I got to say about the base. I don't know if you guys.
Oh right, we're talking about the base. Okay. So,
right. Well, did you want to move on to number 4 for us?
Oh sure. Or do you have a list, or you want me to just run down my movies?
No, you just run down yours, and and then I'll just kind of whatever I have at the end. I'll kind of see how it pairs. We'll do kind of like we did with PM Entertainment, where it's kind of after your list, we'll see how mine kind of shaped up with it.
Okay, so my next movie I have is Sabotage.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so you just watched this recently, Brett and Matt.
Yeah, I just watched it recently too.
Nice.
It's funny when you say your names. It's like. So,
yeah. But before we go any further with Sabotage, Ty, you got to talk about the tagline, because this is one of your favorite VHS taglines of all time, right?
Yes, if I can just get the tagline. Well, you do some talking about Sabotage, and I'll prepare the tagline.
Okay, well, I mean, so where do I start? So, yeah, it's a good DTV Dacascos. It's sort of like a CIA intrigue type movie. And Carrie Ann Moss is in it. I mean, she plays a character that she plays a lot, which is like a very serious and kind of humorless CIA agent.
Not a scold, but it's like
not a scold, but just he's very serious, And there's certain assassinations going on. I don't want to give away too much, but it's there's definitely that sort of government intrigue angle to it. Like it's not like a straight up shoot 'em up. I mean, there is shooting, of course, but
yeah. A little bit more
has that government intrigue angle to it.
So yes, I have the tagline. So just thank you for explaining this Sabotage movie. It's a great movie. Tony Todd plays a great villain.
Yeah.
Yes.
What was his name? Greenwood? No. Sherwood, right?
Sherwood. Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the tagline: "The dark heart of black operations beats to a secret agenda." So when I saw that tagline, I just like the bass. I go, I love the tagline. It's like, so what a great tagline. I was like, this is the best tagline I've ever read. It's so perfect.
Because usually it seems like someone really cared about that tagline. To say the dark heart for the Black Ops beats to a secret agenda, like whoever came up with that, like it wasn't just he's coming to kill you. It's like someone really put some poetry into that.
Like the last man standing, Sabotage or something. See, that would be boring.
Yeah, they could have just tossed it off, but or it could have been like a Kangaroo Jack, which of course I have that at the forefront of my mind. But the tagline to that movie is he stole the money and he's not giving it back. Right. As if you would. I mean, it's such a stupid tagline. So the Sabotage, the box out of the tagline, it sucks you in, and you start watching the movie, and you will be entertained.
Yeah, and one thing too I think that's interesting about Sabotage is that it doesn't have as much action as a standard Dacascos film. But that's what true. Was interesting was that you had Tony Todd, who's just this amazing villain. You had Carrie Ann Moss before Matrix, who's kind of just hasn't quite gotten to that level yet, but she's really great in it. I think was it Peter Green? Was he also in it?
In Sabotage?
I think he was one of the baddies.
Right. It was a great sequence in the ice skating rink.
Yes, yeah. And so what was good for Dacascos, I think, is you've got these 3 major talents in there who, they're really acting to prop up the film in these parts where there's not a lot of action. And Dacascos was holding his own in that, which I thought was really telling. That, because I think with these action guys, a lot of times it is, and if you hear the action guys in interviews, they always talk about how, like, nobody respects me as an actor, or nobody thinks I can act and all that stuff, which to me is actually true, that they probably aren't like, but I think for someone like him, I think it seemed like he was taking in what he was receiving. He was kind of taking it in, that he was acting against some of these actors who were really, really accomplished, and was holding his own. And I thought that was a really good thing to see from him. That, I think seeing an actor pull it off like that, I think is always really cool.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's a testament to his talent.
Yeah.
Well, he has it, as we talked about, Brad and I.
Yes.
He has that screen presence.
Have it. Yeah. And
he has it. Well, certain people we've seen don't really have it. I'm trying to. Well, I think you were telling me, Matt, you're listening to the podcast that we just dropped about Matheson versus Busfield.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think Busfield really has it.
Right. Right. And he gets roles, and it's weird because it's like, what is the it that the people are seeing with him for these roles that we're not seeing?
I mean, he's fine, as I like to say, relentlessly okay.
Right.
But it's just.
But there's certain people that are kind of like, they're pretty faces, but they don't really bring a lot to the table. Like, Ty and I have mentioned this, like Julian McMahon,
Or Kellen Lutz or something like that.
Yeah. It's like, I suppose, it's hard for me to judge this, but I guess they're considered good looking, but they're so flat. They're like, they don't really bring a lot of heart to their performances, but they're more like a pretty face, you know what I mean? So there's that angle to it too. Like, you don't have it, but people who cast movies might think you have it because of the way you look, but it isn't necessarily how you look. Like, who really, really has it is Donald Gibb.
Yeah.
From the Bloodsport movies and lots of other things. He totally has it. He has like this magnetic thing going on screen where you really like watching him.
Yeah, and I think the Kellen Lutz thing, I've never quite understood it, but I think it has to do with the Twilight following. I think I want to say that I may have posted a Kellen Lutz screenshot on Tumblr one time for a movie that I did that had him in it.
Was it Arena?
Yeah, it went nuts. I can't remember what one it was. What movie would it? I can't remember if that was.
Well, we only have one Lutz on our site, which is Arena with Samuel L. Jackson.
Maybe that's what it was. That might have been the one, and it just exploded. Like, it just like and it was like all of these like Twilight fanfic people that were like reincorporating it, and like people were doing like Twilight / Harry Potter fanfics. So like and it was amazing. And I would I'd get these reblog notifications, and it would have like all of this like these comments, like people were like writing like paragraphs of like fanfic based off the pictures the screenshots that I took. So I think that might be the thing, is that if you can get Kellen Lutz on the cover. But I agree, like it doesn't make any sense to me. Like, you watch Expendables 3 and you're like, why is Stallone putting so much into Kellen Lutz, and he's got Wesley Snipes and Dolph Lundgren sitting on the sidelines?
That's why I've never seen EX3. I just can't. I mean, I can't.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the PG-13 factor kind of scared us away.
Yeah.
That they tried to soften it, And
I know we're talking about
or what have you.
I want to go back to Twilight for just one more second, because why? But okay.
Right.
Which is, I remember something. Remember when that was a huge deal back in like 2008, and they had like these Twihard moms.
They're Twihard moms, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, it's Jacob and Edward. And it's like.
There were segments on the news about that, right? Like they're called Twihard moms.
Yeah.
And they show like B-roll footage of them walking around a mall or something.
Yeah, they're yelling at black shirts on. It says Twilight on them. And you have to get Chris Hansen to do it. It's like, they're called Twihard moms, and they're better. They care more about the movie than their kids. So it's
Wait, no. Was a Twihard mom someone who liked Twilight with their daughters?
I think so.
Or is it someone who like the daughter doesn't care about Twilight, but the mom does?
I think it's a little bit of both. And then I remember there was a really funny screenshot, which I can find it somewhere, where they're interviewing Robert Pattinson and the other guy, Taylor Lautner.
Yeah.
They don't say. So it doesn't say Robert Pattinson. It says Edward Cullen. Yeah.
Of course it does.
So it's not like who's Robert Pattinson. No. He's Edward Cullen is his name.
Like the obsession with that is, or the Robsessed, because there was actually a DVD you can buy called Robsessed, which is all about him.
Yeah, it's like learn about the secrets of Rob Pattinson.
Well, didn't he like come under fire because he was really dismissive of the whole thing, like of the whole Twilight thing?
Do that, Rob. You're not be Robsessed anymore.
Right.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me because, everyone wants what they don't have. Like, we're talking about the action stars, they were saying, oh, they don't respect me as an actor and all this. He was probably thinking something similar, like, they don't respect me as a vampire or something because, he wants to be respected for something else. Right. That's always how it is. Eddie Murphy, he wants to be a singer, you know what I mean? Or Keanu Reeves wants to be in Dog Star. There's always something else that they want to do.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I love Dog Star.
I remember that Dog Star thing. Remember they were bragging about him playing at the Viper Room because that was when what's his face owned it, right? Johnny Depp owned the Viper Room.
Keanu was at the Viper Room of John Depp.
I think so. Yeah, I think Depp owned it at that time. It may not even exist anymore. I mean, we're talking about like stuff like L.A. in the 90s, right? Like it's like what kind of cool places that people hung out in L.A.
I think it does exist, but interestingly, Dog Star did go on at least one national tour, and they did play New Haven. I know they played at a place some listeners might know called Toad's Place, which
Did you go to that?
No, I didn't. But I saw they were in the listings, so I could have gone.
Oh, okay.
But,
Get my walk in the clouds.
Much about their music. Yeah, I could have seen him play bass live in person.
Well, when was that? Do you remember what year that was?
Oh, it was whenever the height of Dog Star was, like 1995 or whatever.
Oh, okay. So I could have gotten my Johnny Mnemonic VHS signed. So
in theory, yes. I don't know if he...
An item I don't even have. But I was just like when Macaulay Culkin played... Were you played Toad's Place or The Space?
I think it was this other place because he's... I don't know if listeners know about this, but he was in that stupid, well, I assume it's stupid, band called the Pizza Underground, which is kind of like if Weird Al only sang about one topic. It's like apparently their shtick is they play songs by the Velvet Underground, but they change all the lyrics to be related to pizza.
That's awesome.
When you're literally Richie Rich, you can just do whatever you want.
You can do that. And so it seems like a bit of a one-joke premise or a one-note premise, but they came around. They actually toured, and they came to our local area. And I could have gone to see that, but I really had no interest.
Yeah, it's amazing when you think back on those things where you're like, like if you had done it, it would have been like this great moment. But at the time, you're just like, you don't think like, 20 years, 25 years down the road, like to have said I did that would be like,
I know.
Yeah.
If I could have known back in the 90s that I'd be talking about Dog Star on a podcast, I would have gone. Right. I would have gone just so I'd say, hey, I went. But, it's just one of those things,
Yeah.
Well, as you said before, turn the train back around.
Okay.
Onto the
We're talking about Dog Star all day. But,
we do the Dog Star podcast.
Yeah.
I think that's an original idea. No one has that idea yet.
We should get clips from the music and
we can talk about how
CD was at Goodwill recently. Like I could have picked it up, but I have no idea what the music sounds like, so I don't know.
Yeah, alternative, I guess, rock.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I think it's in that vein. Yeah, there was probably a video that was on MTV or tried to be on MTV.
Was it black and white?
I think so.
I think it was, yeah.
That's all I got from my memory.
Yeah, that's all I got. Yeah.
Dog Star. Yes, for all you kids out there that are younger, yeah, the Keanu Reeves that you know now as John Wick, in the 90s, he had a band called Dog Star, and it was and it was kind of a thing that like a lot of those those like Gen X reality bites, like
right,
whatever.
Pearl Jammers.
Yeah, what would you call them? The Reality Bites pack instead of the Brat Pack? But, I think they're all doing bands.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, the Singles soundtrack was very, very big.
And Empire Records.
Yeah, a lot of those.
So that whole scene, yeah.
Exactly.
Johnny Depp, who is owner of the Viper Room, is a guitar player. And from what I'm told, he's actually a really good guitar player. But that skill never really gets mentioned too much.
No.
Because it's been overshadowed by Mordecai.
Well, as have our lives.
Still?
Well, I don't know.
Yes, it's always in the shadows lurking. Like, do you want to watch Mordecai or no? No.
Or do you want to see you stuck in a computer?
Oh, transference? What was that called?
It's not Transmorphers. That's that other thing.
Yeah. Right. That's Asylum.
The Asylum or Atlantic Rim. All these great Asylum movies.
I forget the title, but yeah, he's stuck in a computer. Johnny Depp. It's like great idea. So I guess the next.
Yes.
So your next Mark Dacascos movie is.
We always do this. Okay, which is Crying Freeman.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I love Crying Freeman. I think it's a very underrated movie. It's really, really good. Like you said, it's a crying shame that it didn't get released here. I didn't have that planned, I swear. Okay. It's a really good movie. Well, Christoph Gans obviously was very impressed, as Dacascos might be appearing in another one of his movies. But yeah, Crying Freeman is really, really good. Like, more people need to see this movie. It's very underrated, underappreciated. And you can see why, because it didn't come out here. But more people need to see that movie, I think.
Well, and you just watched it, Matt, right?
Yeah. Now, one joke I should make is the amount of times that Dacascos is nude in the film. I feel like they should be called Crying Cheekman, but it's like you're right. I think it's a different kind of movie, and I think maybe there was a sense that there was no audience for it here in the United States, at least on a theatrical level, and who knows? Maybe that's true. But I kind of feel like it's one of those ones that if they just put it in the theater here and just see what happens with it, I think the audience may have come to it.
I completely agree. And what they should have done is, because it's almost an art house movie. Yeah. I mean, it could have played to the art crowd as much as the action crowd, which is a bit ahead of its time, because you do kind of see that nowadays. But if they had played it on like more the independent circuit, it definitely could have built up an audience. And it's such a shame that it didn't.
Yeah, and I also, one other aside before I pass it off to you, Ty, to see what you thought of it. But
sure.
I love Byron Mann also in this. I'm a huge Byron Mann fan, and I would have liked to have seen the two of them really get after. So spoiler alert, the two of them do not have a fight scene in this. They do in a show called Wu Assassins. It's a Netflix show.
Right, I haven't watched that yet. How is it good?
It's one of those. It's your standard Netflix one where it's like it's a 10-hour movie. So you get to like it's like you've got these really great people. You've got Byron Mann. So Dacascos is essentially Iko Uwais' character. He gets a special power and he can look like other people. So at times he looks like Mark Dacascos. And so that's how Dacascos is in the film,
okay.
Or in the show. And it's like, so you've got those three. Juju Chen from Savage Dog is in it. She's really good in it as well. But beyond that, there's a lot of these characters that just, like how Netflix does it, where it's like you've got these characters that don't really mean a lot to the overall, or they're not as interesting, I guess, as the other main characters. And so it's like, man, I just want to see more Byron Mann. And instead I'm dealing with this character who runs a restaurant dealing with it, whatever whiny stuff that they're whining about that I don't really care about. And I think that's the problem with the Netflix thing, is that you start to lose some of the really good parts in it. But yeah, Byron Mann is great in it, and Dacascos, for the small parts that he has in it, he's really great as well.
Okay. Unfortunately, they didn't fight in this very movie.
Right.
Yeah, I have to agree with Brett and you. It's a highly enjoyable movie. I wish people knew more about it. I mean, I found it at a game exchange. It was
like an import or a bootleg or something.
I think it was okay quality, right? I think it was.
I remember thinking the quality was pretty good.
Okay, I must be thinking of a different DVD that had crud quality. So, I don't know what else to say besides that. That's a highly recommended movie, and what goes right to my next movie from the same director, Brotherhood of the Wolf.
Oh yeah,
which I just watched recently and was blown away by it. It's an incredibly great movie. I love this movie. It's so amazing at every level. And the DVD, at least the one DVD Ty has, is the extended version, which can only imagine features more Dacascos. So this did get a theatrical release, I believe, but I think the theatrical release had less Dacascos. So that's a problem. But the DVD restores it.
You've
seen that one, right, Matt, or no?
No. So the funny thing about Brotherhood of the Wolf is that I thought I had done that one, and it turns out I hadn't, and I wonder if it's because it was one of those ones where it's like Netflix didn't send me the DVD or something. I don't remember, but yeah, I've been meaning to check this one out. So the fact that it's number 2 on your list makes it even more of a must-watch for me.
Yeah, but at least for me, that's kind of predicated on the extended version.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So make sure you get. It's long, but it goes by so fast because it's really entertaining and so beautifully done. It's just like every detail is just so beautifully rendered. So yeah, it's great. But I would definitely say watch out for that extended version, which is on DVD. That's surprisingly there was no Blu-ray of this movie in the U.S. yet as of this recording.
That's another oversight, huge oversight.
Huge. And it's funny on the Criterion website. There's a section where you can suggest a movie for them to release. So I actually wrote them and said, "Hey guys, release Brotherhood of the Wolf. This would be perfect for Criterion." So I don't know if they got that email or they just ignore every single email, but I tried. But yeah, there are Blu-rays in other regions and stuff, but in the US as of right now, there's no Blu-ray. So the best one available is that extended version. So I couldn't recommend it anymore. It's an excellent piece of filmmoving.
Yeah, I always go back to this one thing about Blu-rays, that if Crazy 6 has a Blu-ray, then X movie should have a Blu-ray.
I finally watched that.
I'm with you. Yeah, well, that same company released Blast by Albert Pun, which is also not a good movie.
Right. Yeah.
So you have Blast and Crazy 6. Yeah, I'm with you. And again, Brotherhood of the Wolf doesn't. That's a problem.
Yeah. I mean, Man Killers has a Blu-ray, which I like Man Killers, but it has a Blu-ray too. So it's what are we doing?
I couldn't agree more. It's just some certain priorities are a little askew when it comes to Blu-ray releases, but I'm sure it's only a matter of time till Brotherhood of the Wolf gets a really nice Blu-ray release. Hopefully from a company like Criterion, but other companies could do a good job with that. Arrow would be perfect.
I can see get ready to pre-order this November, Brotherhood of the Wolf.
Yeah,
because they released this super version of American Werewolf in London. So if they did something like that, I'm sure they could do it with Brotherhood of the Wolf.
Yeah.
Well, I have my number one pick. Yeah. It looks like I can do the honorable mentions first, then do number one.
I know what your number one is. I have a hunch.
I think you know, and that movie is Drive.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Also with a really good extended version that people should look out for.
Now, I was looking into this, Brett and Matt.
Yes.
When he does the singing, he does that funny. I think that's in the original, the American version also. I just don't remember that. I only seen the longer version. So.
Because I thought one of the things that they cut from the shorter American version was when he's singing.
Yeah.
It's an original song that he performs. You don't get it from start to finish, but I do. You got shot at. You had some fights.
I have to sing that.
Yeah. It's great. Well, that adds to the whole overall upbeat tone of the movie. It's a lot of fun.
It's just pure fun from beginning to end. I'm assuming you agree.
Oh yes. I mean, this one. So Drive was the one that Kenner of Movies in the Attic, he actually sent me the DVD of it and was like, you have to review this movie for the site. So that's the copy that I have, is the DVD that he sent me of it.
You still have it?
Yeah, I believe it's in storage at my parents' house. So it's in a basement there that they have. So I have a whole bunch of DVDs there and VHSs that I should someday, maybe when all this is over, I can make a trip up there and grab some of those.
On right now,
yeah, exactly.
Something bad is happening.
Yes, when we're on the other side of this stuff.
Yes,
I can take a look up there. But I remember watching that and just being like, whoa, this is Dacascos. This is what you want. I think it's like almost like it's like the realization of all you wanted with Dacascos, of you see him in movies and you get like glimmers of it, and it's like this is what he could really do, and you almost wish there was more drives, right? That there, why does he not have 5 drives or something like that? But I'm in total agreement. This is my favorite Dacascos as well.
Well, like you said, he really gets a chance to shine in this movie. Like a lot of times he's more of a supporting character. Here he's the main star and he's doing lots of different things, and it's exciting. It's never boring. It's
never boring. Yeah, excellent choreography. You care the whole time because all the other characters are great too. Kadeem Hardison, great buddy cop chemistry. Well, not cops, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But no, the two of them together was fantastic. You almost feel like, what they should have been, like if the Asylum had existed back then, it would have been good to do Rush Hour, mockbusters with those two.
Yeah, or like how Fast and Furious has all these sequels. Drive could have and should have gotten that same sort of treatment, because I think Kadeem Hardison and Mark Dacascos are a heck of a lot more likable and watchable than Vin Diesel, who that's somewhat well established. I'm not a super fan of his. He doesn't have it, in my opinion. I guess a lot of people disagree, but I don't think he does. He's too much of a lunkhead. But those two are not lunkheads, and it's enjoyable to watch. So anyone who's listening to this who hasn't seen it, definitely seek it out. If you can get the extended version, that so much the better. But any version, I'm sure, would be
it's fine.
great.
I think I saw the original, the U.S. version before I ever seen this extended one, and it was still good. So.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think what version that I saw. That's a good question. I want to say it's available on one of the streaming sites as well. I'm not sure.
It's not Amazon Prime, because I think I saw it hanging around. Like, also recommended Drive.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is.
Or is it the Tubi?
Yeah, it's one of those two.
It's somewhere.
Right?
I'm sure it's somewhere.
Yeah,
I can look right now. It says it's on Prime. It says it's on Tubi. It says it's on IMDb TV. So numerous places to watch it.
Yeah, so he's it's there was a lot of Dacascos on Tubi and Prime. So for people listening to this who haven't quite gotten into it, and I almost feel like this podcast isn't so much like a for people who haven't gotten into it, you should. It was more like finally giving this guy his due kind of thing, But so Drive is
you're
on
probably
Tubi.
already a fan. If you're listening to this, you're probably already a fan.
Yeah, you're probably thinking to yourself, like, why hasn't Matt covered more Dacascos, or why hasn't Matt, done an episode like this sooner? It's probably more what it is. But if you are someone who's still kind of, new to Dacascos, or maybe you've seen him on TV shows like Martial Law, I think he's on the new Hawaii Five-0, things like that. There's a lot of his stuff out available to stream on Tubi and Prime. So it's Ty knows when I was watching Crying Freeman, I was watching it on YouTube because I couldn't find it anywhere, and my computer was giving me a hard time, so I had to refresh the YouTube page because the audio was becoming unsynced. And I get done with it this morning, go to log it on Letterboxd, and realize it's saying it's available on Prime. So I could have watched it on Prime the whole time. Not had to deal with all that.
What I do, I know of other people do this, is that let's say you look up Mark Dacascos, and it says you could just choose is what's on Prime, what's on Tubi. So I check that all the time. So it says Prime Video has a Ultimate Justice and Showdown in Manila, Shadows in Paradise. I'm running it down. Drive, Crying Freeman, Double Dragon. So
you get a really good sampling there of his work. And
on Tubi, you get Operation Rogue, which is a movie I was about to mention for the honorable mentions.
Oh, yes. Oh, good. Yes, I haven't seen that one yet.
Red Line, I wasn't sure if that's going to be an honorable mention or not.
Yeah, but I remember that was with Howard, with Rutger Hauer, right?
Yeah. And what else do you get on Tubi? Cradle to the Grave, Solar Attack. Did you see that one, Matt? Solar Attack?
That's like not the same one as Scorched, is it?
No, it's different. I know, it's very similar. Scorched.
Yeah, so I've seen Scorched, but I haven't seen Solar Attack.
And there's also Falling Fire.
Oh,
the one with Michael Paré.
Yeah, that was. Oh.
It's not good. Don't see it.
No, don't see it. I think that's a tape purge movie. We've talked about it on our podcast. I purged a bunch of tapes, and that was one of them.
That was a purge, yeah. Sabotage is on Tubi. Another one from your list. So I think out of your list, out of your top 5, I think you can get a good amount from those.
And that's good because, this stuff we think is the best is, for the most part, also readily available, which doesn't always happen. Sometimes it's hard to see some of these things. But in this case, some of the best of Dacascos is out there for people to see. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Wait, was it called Scorcher?
Scorcher, yeah.
Scorcher.
Yeah, with Rutger Hauer as the president.
Nice. And who was that? John Rhys Davies. You've seen it. Yes. I think I saw it, but my memory is so faded on that one.
Yeah, it's like this completely all over the place disaster movie. It's like trying to merge disaster movie with, I think, like One Guy Against the World action movie. It's like none of it. It's like sautéed in wrong sauce, if I remember right.
Well, I'm going to go to, I guess, the honorable mentions.
Yeah.
Which I have two, which is Operation Rogue. I know I just mentioned that. Mark Dacascos and Treat Williams. I think we really enjoyed that one, Brett.
My memory is not the best on this. I don't think you should go to me on this one right now. If you're saying I've seen it, I believe you, but that's about as far as I can go right now.
We saw it a while ago. We got it from the library, if you remember that. I don't know why. It's like a nice deep dive there. But let's see here. Have you seen this one, Matt?
I haven't seen it yet. So this one is the one that's on. This one, it's Roger Corman's.
Roger Corman's on Tubi. I guess I saw it on Tubi. It's in the Philippines. It's Philippine action.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. It's on my next list. So I've got that one to watch at some point. I'm going to wait till I hear what your bad ones are before I mention a couple other ones that I have to watch. But yeah, that's I saw because I know the two. What were the I can't think of the names of the
Eagle One.
That's right, the Eagle One. Those were Corman produced as well, which I wasn't as big a fan of those.
Yeah, I just watched one of them for the first time, and the one I watched, Crash Point, I think it's called. It's standard stuff. Like it's not awful. Like it's not bad, but it's not great either. It's to my mind, it was kind of mediocre.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get a lot with that. I mean, it's okay. It's somewhat watchable, but even Dacascos, he's like a military guy who kind of like barks orders at people and doesn't really have a lot of emotion, or there's no real heart to the movie. It's like one of these military movies with no real heart or soul, just in my personal opinion. So no, it's not awful, but it's not great either. So don't go in expecting magic with that. But if you're trying to watch all the Dacascos movies, I mean, there's probably worse.
Yes, and I do have one more. I think we're all going to agree on this one. As honorable mention, which is China Strike Force.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Coolio and Mark Dacascos.
I know what you're thinking, so you might as well just say it.
Oh yes, Coolio killed my partner.
That's a line that's actually said in the movie. One of the characters says, and I quote, "Coolio killed my partner," because Coolio in the movie plays a guy named Coolio.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
and
let's just keep that in mind.
In this movie, it's like for no reason whatsoever, Coolio's character has the ability to fight like everybody else.
And it was hilariously done because it's clearly dubbed. And when he's like fighting with all those people on that like window.
Yes.
And it's like Coolio is not doing his own audio. So, it's really funny to see.
And in fact, he's playing a guy named Coolio who's not himself. It's like the Tony Danza thing again. He's Coolio, but it's not him. It's another guy, coincidentally named Coolio.
It's like all names are coincidental, in the credits.
Yeah.
But
right. So it's so that to me was a highlight of the movie. But it's also an entertaining movie that people should check out.
Yeah, I remember that was a fun one. Actually, Exploding Helicopter did that on a podcast recently. Where he was,
I listened to that one.
Yeah, I think it was. I remember listening to that because I reviewed China Strike Force. That was like one of my first reviews on the site.
I'll have to look that up.
That was a long time. I don't think I gave it as good a credit as I should have, because I think that
happens. You're just like, well, I mean, it's good, but you're negative, but you're not negative. Yeah.
Yeah. What did I say about it? That's a good question. I think I have Dacascos up on my thing because I've got the two Eagle points. Oh yeah. Actually, yeah, my review did not age well for 2007 because it was like talking about like the hot Asian co-star and stuff like that, which are things like nowadays I would not be putting in a blog post.
Canceled.
Yeah, exactly. I would not be talking like this, and that's the thing when you do a blog for over 10 years, like some of the things you say. But I said, actually, I did call it a quality. I called it a quality Hong Kong action flick. So actually, I didn't dislike it. So that's actually a good thing. So, yes, I didn't hate it. I think this would have been an honorable mention for me too, because I did say Dacascos is great here too. So I liked him as a bad guy. I think that's one thing I think about Dacascos is he plays a good baddie or a good hero. I think that Ultimate Justice movie I watched recently, where he plays a guy who's just kind of more of a jerk. He doesn't do a jerk well. He either does a good guy or a bad guy, but he can't do a heel or a jerk.
I mean, to me, he seems to fit more in the hero mold. But I agree. He can do a villain. I mean, that's what he was in John Wick. I mean, he was the opponent of John Wick.
Yeah.
But I agree. But to me, there's something kind of, I don't know if you'd say wholesome, but maybe wholesome about him that I think fits more into the hero side of things.
Yeah.
He's usually upbeat, and it's like that's why he has it.
Yeah.
So it's like,
and that's very well expressed in Drive. So that's why people should see it if they haven't.
Yeah.
On my worst list, I have. I just want to keep talking about Drive.
I'm ready to go worst. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't have many. Which is I guess I'll go with Shadows in Paradise as the weaker ones. It's not really its fault. Did you see this one?
I haven't seen that one yet. No.
It's on Amazon Prime.
Mm-hmm.
It's Mark Dacascos, Amanda Sante, Danny Trejo, a couple other people. Oh, Tom Sizemore.
It was really funny in it, unintentionally, I think.
Absolutely hilariously. You just have to watch his performance. Just watch it. You'll laugh. Because
it's like the structure of the movie is like not very good, but Sizemore seems to kind of know that, and it's like he mumbles everything, like he's completely unintelligible. Like you can't tell a word he's saying. So it's really funny to watch. So and for that alone, I think it's a one-time watch. But I mean, the movie itself it has a lot of flaws.
Yeah, it's heavily mediocre because you don't really care about the characters. But Sizemore almost saves it. It was just.
Wow, it's got Divoff and Stephen Bauer and Vernon. Yeah. I mean, it's a jam-packed cast for sure.
That's why we watched it. I think Sofia Skaya is the girl.
Yeah.
You gotta see Assassin's Game.
Oh, she's a lot better in that. A lot better.
Did you see that one yet?
No,
Christian Slater.
Oh, maybe I have seen that Christian Slater. I think
it's the cover is
because it's a genius idea. It's she's a ballerina who has to use her ballerina abilities to fight the baddies.
Right.
Yeah,
awesome. So she's like spin kicking people because she's a trained ballerina. It's awesome.
It's perfect. If you haven't seen it, that's definitely worth watching because it's very. The cover makes it look like a completely different movie if you look it up on Amazon.
And I don't think I have. I'm looking through my Christian Slater.
You gotta see it. You should put it on your list of movies to watch. I think you'd really enjoy it.
Okay, so I've seen Assassin's Bullet.
Oh, that's Christian Slater. I'm Assassin's Bullet. That's Christian Slater. You know what I mean?
But that's not the one, right? That's not
a different
Assassin's Game.
It's very similar title.
Okay.
So
Donald Sutherland.
Assassin's Bullet has Sutherland and Slater, and then this one has Cole Hauser and Slater and Skaya.
Okay.
Or some people call him Cole Hauser.
Oh, Cole. Yes. I like that.
Oh, that's awesome. And it's funny because your dud, Shadows of Paradise, like despite the dud factor, but now it's like with all those names, I feel like it's like the siren song, right? Like
that's what we call on our website the Lone Tiger effect.
Right.
Where you get sucked in by all the great names, but the movie itself is not very good. It's almost like because or maybe because of all the people, they couldn't like put a coherent plot together. They just figured if they got like 10 B movie stars and put them all together, that would somehow make it all work out all right. It doesn't happen that way, but Sizemore is almost reason enough to check out the movie.
I am the Sizemore factor for me is an interesting one. When I saw this movie recently, Abstruse for
we were talking about whether we should watch that or not.
Yeah, it's almost 2 hours long, which makes it really difficult. But what's fascinating with Sizemore in that one is that like he. Because everybody else in the film, for the most part, I think that Dennis Haskins is in it from Saved by the Bell, but for the most part, the actors in the film are newer. They're still kind of getting the hang of being actors, and they're still kind of learning the trade. So when Sizemore acts in a scene with them, you can just sort of see the levels of difference between him and his co-stars in those scenes. But you can also see too that like he's not even really trying. Like that's how good of an actor he is, that he just shows up and just reads the lines the way he thinks he should read the lines. But you also can hear him stumbling over lines. You know, like he was trying to tell somebody, "Oh, you can kill me with like a death through 1,000 paper cuts." And like the way he said it was like, "You can just kill me like, you know, a death with like, I don't know, like a bunch of cuts with like paper cuts." Like, you know, like you know, he's not really, you know, and I guess like he didn't want to do like the Seagal, like have the cue cards nearby. But because like he's so good, like even when he flubs the line, it sounds authentic, you know.
Well, you're describing what might be called the Michael Madsen effect.
Yes,
because
yeah.
I think he's kind of in that same boat. But what's interesting is Sizemore is really genuinely good.
Yeah.
But he's just being put in the, you know, because of his personal woes, he gets put in these kind of low down and dirty movies. But he's really, like, when you watch some of his earlier movies, like recently, you know, Ty, you know, he let me borrow Witness to the Mob. That's the way he plays John Gotti.
Yes.
He's great as Gotti. Like, he's genuinely really great. He should have been nominated for like a Golden Globe or something. He's really, really good as Gotti. And he's got it. You know, yeah. But I think because of his personal issues, he ends up in these movies. Like, what's the one where he's in a junkyard, kind of like talking to himself?
Oh, Assassin's Game. Wait, I guess
just to be clear for the audience, there's Assassin's Run, Assassin's Bullet, and Assassin's Game.
Yes. Wow, that is very confusing. I
Sean
Locke, right?
I'm sorry, what?
Sorry, Sean Locke. Speaking of new people.
Oh, Sean Locke, right? The star of Crossing Point. Also with Tom Sizemore and Luke Goss.
Oh, maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
I wonder if you guys will have to do an Assassins.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. No, the one I'm thinking of, it's not Sean Locke. It's Grandmaster Mike Makita.
Yes, Grandmaster Mike Makita. Yes, I know. Just that alone, like, what are you talking about? You just have to watch it on Amazon Prime. We got to rewatch it. It's a movie. I mean, you got filing.
Once again, as Ty might say, he's compulsively watchable, but the movie itself is problematic, let's say. But he's good. Sizemore is, even when he's bad, he's good.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's. I mean, it's never like, yeah, when you see his name on there, it's always like, what is he going to do in this movie? Like, what is he going to look like?
Great point.
Yeah, he's unpredictable. I like that. It's true. And you could say the same thing about Madsen as well. I think they're definitely two pieces of pot.
Yeah.
But they were never in any movies together, really. So,
well, that would be like having two suns in the sky. It would never work. You know?
Okay. So is it like
when you try to put two magnets together and they don't like go together and they're pulling apart? It would be like that.
Or is it like when you in Time Cop, right? When Ron Silver sees himself.
Right.
Yeah. But you think after all these B movies the two guys have been in, they would have crossed paths once.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, if you think about it, right? I mean, if they made a buddy cop movie with the two of them, right? And you shot it in 24 hours or however long that the two of them allow to be shot. You know, I mean, they usually want to come in and get it done, don't they? Right? Like they don't want to be
They're not as bad as Bruce Willis and stuff, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you really wouldn't need much of a plot to make a movie like that work, right?
No. It could be, you're right, it could be a very simple sort of revenge plot where they're looking for like the main bad guy or something.
Yeah, it wouldn't take much to make that work. And it's amazing that more of that stuff, I mean, maybe it's just a matter of like, how do you get enough movie when you consider the two of them probably, again, like they probably only want to be so much in a movie and they'll only do it for so long, but I mean, that would be everything. Like that would do it for us, right? Like that would be.
Oh, absolutely. But you know what would happen? Let's be realistic. We'd see movies coming out that has both of them. We'd all get really excited, and then they'd have no scenes together, and they're both in it for 2 minutes.
Yep, I can see that. Yep.
So I just did a lookup with the two of them, and there are 9 titles that the two of them have done together. The first one is Wyatt Earp. Now I don't know if they have any scenes together in that one.
No scenes. Okay.
Pauly Shore is dead.
We said they never worked together. They've worked together 9 times.
9 times. Pauly Shore is dead. Hollywood's
Pauly
Shore
does that
loses
count,
everything.
though?
I don't know. That's a good point. Like a couple that could be interesting. Born to Race with the number 2. It's all one word. Born to Race with the number 2 in the middle from 2019. That lists the two of them as the only 2 stars, as far as I can tell. Like it's an 80-minute long movie. I don't even know if it's out yet. That's the thing.
Okay. Okay. So it's not even out yet.
Actually, I don't even know if it exists. It lists Michael Madsen as Bobby Unser and Tom Sizemore as Al Unser.
Oh, so it's like a docudrama based on true events.
Right, it's based on the Unser story, and I am not seeing anything beyond the fact that it's attached to a director, Richard Driscoll, and it's I don't see anything about where this is coming. It says distributor's website. Let me see if I can get something from that, but it's a 77-minute movie from the company called Monarch Films. It's giving me the option to play the trailer. Will it let me? Will there be a trailer?
Will be a live trailer?
Let's see. It's playing something.
It's going to play an ad.
It's like 6
during these
seconds.
Trying times. We just
Oh God! but during so what are while that's booting up, what are so we got Pauly Shore's Dead, Wyatt Earp, Born to Race. That's 3. So what are the other ones?
So let's see here. And actually, there is a trailer coming for Born to Race. So maybe this thing is actually does exist. So another one is a Bernie Madoff movie called The Banksters Made Off with America. Bernie Madoff. It's from 2013.
Made off. Yeah. It's not a red flag at all with that guy's name. Made off of your money.
Right, exactly. In 2002, they did a movie together called Welcome to America. That's a gang of Estonian bank robbers in Los Angeles.
That came out?
I don't know if it came out because it has no cover pictured, and it has crime listed for the. So, I don't know what.
So it's not out.
John Vernon's in it as well. I don't know if
John Vernon,
Billy Drago, Todd Bridges.
Oh my gosh!
So I don't know what is going on with this thing.
Hopefully that will come out.
I wonder if
it's one of these Madsen movies that have never come out, like Outlaw or Ultimate Target, or what's the other one I'm thinking of? Bad Fellas.
Right. This Richard Driscoll director did another movie called When the Devil Rides Out with those two. It's a horror author, I guess, starts seeing starts seeing images of the devil after a car accident. Again, now this one has a full cast. It's got Bai Ling listed in it as well. But again, I don't know. It says it was filmed, but what happened after that, I don't know. So it's, again, this company Monarch Films has done something with it. So where these movies existed, I mean, if people have copies of these, if you've seen these, and if you've seen these and you've seen Madsen and Sizemore doing scenes together, I think this is the most important part.
Yes. Tell us immediately.
Yeah.
Send in a copy today. Or at least say, give us a link or something.
So Driscoll did another movie in 2020 called Conjuring the Book of the Dead that also has Madsen and Sizemore. So apparently this guy Driscoll is good buds with the two of them, and he gets them in everything.
I want to see these movies now.
Yeah.
Like I said, the power of the two of them together is such that it can never come to fruition. You know, it's like one of these things
the movie can't be made. So now there's a movie called The Florentine that came out in 1999. It's got Luke Perry.
Oh, I've seen that movie. Yeah. They don't have scenes together.
Okay.
I forgot that they're both in that.
Okay, yeah. So that's one that's listed here. So that one you can confirm they did not act. So that was like a De Niro, Pacino, Godfather 2 scenario there.
Yeah, Sizemore plays he's not with Madsen's character. Madsen plays like a bartender. His name is Whitey because he has white hair.
Right.
It's kind of like these whimsical kind of dramas from the 90s. It's not very, it's boring.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that one we unfortunately.
I forgot about that one. Yes, but they're not in any scenes.
Okay. All right. That's too bad there. So that's one we can scratch off the list. But apparently this Richard Driscoll guy, he thinks the same way we do about this because he has made 3 movies with the two of them in them, and we just don't know what's happened to any of these movies.
Well, I assume if they do come out, we'll know. You know what I mean? We'll see it somewhere. It will come on our radar, I think, if they find a release.
Yeah, I agree. So fingers crossed here on that. Now, was that 2, or is there still another?
I have one more. I know. Okay. It's like now I'll make it quick then. It's Sanctuary as one of the weaker Dacascos.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that one yet, so that's good to
You're
know.
not missing.
We found it to be boring.
Okay.
Because
I mean,
the cover is awesome.
Yeah, the cover makes it look like it's some action-packed, Drive-esque extravaganza, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's very boring. There's minimal action.
And even the drama is like boring. It's just, I mean, it's funny because it seems kind of mixed. Like if you read reviews online, some people love it. Like they think it's really good, like a really good deep drama. And other people kind of feel like us that it's just a snooze fest. So maybe you might think the drama of it is good. So I don't want to, sour you too much on that. But we found it boring.
Yeah, so. It could have been a heck of a lot better if it was like Sabotage because it's from the same director.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah. So, I mean, part of what made Sabotage so good was that he leaned on some really heavy-duty talent there. And so I don't know if this had Tony Todd in it as well.
I don't think it does.
No Todd, no Graham Greene, no Carrie Ann Moss.
Yeah.
I
think I called him Peter Green earlier in the podcast episode.
Graham Greene.
Graham Greene, okay.
Better, okay.
I actually thought, Peter Green's one of the villains? Yeah, I'll believe that. I
thought too. Shows what I know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, we're talking about the Graham Greene? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he's in that Sanctuary besides Dacascos.
Oh, it's what's his name that we saw in that Y2K movie?
Nolan?
That's very funny. But no, it's the other guy with the crazy hair.
James Woolsett or
Woolsett? Yeah, James Woolsett. Yeah. Yeah.
Terminal Countdown.
Terminal Countdown, a.k.a. Y2K.
Yeah.
With rhymes there.
I forgot about, is it Woolsett, right? I forgot he was in that. But his hair from Terminal Countdown is still so distracting. I guess I must have blocked it out.
For that guy's hair, because it's like a Mo Howard kind of haircut. And it's like, but wrong looking. It's like,
and like the whole like lower third of his head is shaved, but like the top is like a bowl cut of some kind, and just it looks so ridiculous. It almost distracts from the movie. It's so stupid looking.
And then we were watching Terminal Countdown last year, and it's like I can't focus. It's the hair. It's like,
if you watch the movie, you'll see what we mean. You probably think we're exaggerating. Whoever's listening to this probably think, nah, hair can't be that bad. You just watch the movie and you tell us.
The descriptions, I mean, when you first said his hair was all over the place, I was thinking of like Yahoo Serious or something like that.
But no, this is like a bowl haircut, Mo Howard style.
Right, which worked for the Three Stooges because they were supposed to be obnoxious, so they were supposed to have bad haircut.
Well, yeah, he's obnoxious in it.
Right.
Well, yeah, they're supposed to be like funny, like it's supposed to be Stooge-like, whereas here it's supposed to be, I guess, a serious hair. Like no one ever comments on it. Like no one ever says, "Hey, what a stupid-looking haircut." Like it's just kind of taken for granted that this is hair that someone might have,
right?
Which is all the more puzzling.
Wow, that's yeah. No, I mean, Sanctuary too. When you talk about that versus Sabotage, I mean, Tony Todd, for me, I feel like he gives a masterclass on being a film baddie in Sabotage. And it is amazing how like that kind of thing can elevate a movie if you don't have it, if things aren't happening, there's nothing to lean on in those scenes. It seems like.
We talk about this all the time. It's amazing how many movies don't have a strong central evil baddie.
Yeah.
It's just amazing. So would you think any action movie would have, and the fact that Tony Todd does such a good job. You're right. It puts things into perspective. It's like, hey, this is awesome, and because I think a lot of people think of him as the good guy from Night of the Living Dead remake. It's definitely a different type of role.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I can kind of see what's saying. I mean, chances are I'm probably going to have to watch these anyway, just because I have to do them for the blog at some point. But it probably gives me a good sense of what I should be prioritizing, right? That like I should be getting Brotherhood of the Wolf should be the next thing I do for Dacascos. That should be absolutely. I think that's the only one on your top 5 that I haven't seen yet. So that's kind of my next up, and then Operation Rogue. So that tells me where I need to go next, which I think is probably the best way to think of it.
Yes. Also, I should say Ty's power just went out, so he has dropped out of the call. So,
okay.
Just flying solo here, but I mean, luckily he did finish the list.
Yes, so, exactly. Okay, well, we'll see if he comes back on. Maybe I'll kind of just quickly mention one movie that I had that wasn't that Ty didn't mention was Only the Strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of that's always been kind of a fun one for me. Just with, the whole capoeira and all of that stuff. So that's always been a good part. But
I think that's how a lot of people know Mark Dacascos. Like a lot of people, like if you say just the name Mark Dacascos, they'll go, "Oh yeah, Only the Strong." Like that's what people know him from. So.
Yeah, and I think that was supposed to be the movie that would propel him the same way we think of like Perfect Weapon as the movie to propel Speakman into this big career. But it's always kind of what happens after. But I also think too with Only the Strong, I think there was something about it being like the Brazilian capoeira thing that I think for whatever reason that didn't resonate with audiences in America the way it should have.
Yeah, I agree. But it did get a theater release, I believe, at the time. So I could see where you're going with that because much like how Perfect Weapon got a theater release, and that would never get a theater release today. Yeah. So, but I think that did propel him into the minds of a lot of people, popularizing him to a certain degree.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it with some of these actors, like you think of like Seagal, right? He's kind of an obvious one where it's like, he comes out of the gate, and it's like his next like 2 or 3 movies were all as good as that first one. And I think with like Dacascos, it was like Only the Strong, and then he just kind of, like Double Dragon didn't do so well, and Crying Freeman didn't get released in the States, and it's like kind of the opposite. It's like a reverse Seagal, where it's like, they don't quite do as well. I think that's the problem sometimes. But it's a kind of a fine line. And Speakman says in interviews that he was supposed to have this multi-picture deal with Canon, and then they went underwater, or Paramount. He was supposed to have it with Paramount, and then somebody else came into Paramount and said, no, we're not doing those 3 movies with Speakman. And so then he was forced to go to Canon, which of course Street Night didn't do well because Canon was going bankrupt at that time. And so it's almost like that thing, right, where it's like, there's this fine line between being Seagal or Van Damme or, being, Dacascos has had a great career, so I don't want to make it sound like he didn't have a great career. But, to not quite have that kind of name on the marquee career, I guess.
Well, and I think the Speakman comparison is again apt because when action movies were bigger, and the big names were Van Damme and Seagal, and of course, Stallone, Schwarzenegger, and then action was just a big thing, and they were trying new people a lot, So along comes Speakman, and along comes Dacascos, and other names you could mention. Action was such big business with audiences. It's only natural that they would try a new name. People, it's like, oh, I've seen every Stallone, I've seen every Schwarzenegger. How about this new guy, Mark Dacascos?
Right. And from the studio standpoint too, I think it's nice. I think they want to bring in a new name because, you deal with all the issues and the baggage that comes with the big name, And so it's like if you can grow your own name, get some really good movies out of them, you don't have to pay them as much, and you don't have to deal with as much on the other end.
Yes, they're diva-esque demands. You get someone who's young and hungry. Yeah, you could pay him a lot less and potentially have a big hit.
Yeah, And I think Double Dragon was supposed to be that movie for Dacascos, and it just didn't happen. It was like, and when you watch it, you realize why. It's like the movie, they were trying to make it like some kind of kid-friendly movie.
Yeah.
And that's really not what Double Dragon was. When you play the video game, it's a pretty harsh video game.
It's constantly beating people up, including women, and they have whips, which I believe those characters do kind of make an appearance in the movie.
Right. So Felicia from General Hospital. I can't remember the actress's name. She married. She ended up marrying Jack Wagner, I think. So, but I think that was supposed to be the same way for Dacascos. That was supposed to be her big break to get out of soap operas, was being in Double Dragon.
And I'm sure Alyssa Milano felt the same way because let's not forget she was in the movie too. So she probably wanted to get away from a who's the boss type of situation.
Yeah, and that's the thing with that character. I think is it's supposed to be something. It's supposed to be like kind of no more kids movies for her. And and I think it just didn't work out for any of them. I think Alyssa Milano, I don't think she would have wanted to be the character that she would have been in the video game, where it would have been just the damsel in distress waiting to get rescued. I think she. Yeah,
that's not. Yeah, I agree. That's not really her.
Yeah, I think she would have wanted a bigger part, but if they had played it more like that, you think of it like I think Ring of Fire 2 is actually Double Dragon in a way, right? With on the Dragon Wilson. Yeah.
Well, and also that was when there were very few video game movies. Like a video game movie was kind of an anomaly almost. I mean, yeah, we had Super Mario Brothers, Double Dragon, and Mortal Kombat. That was pretty much it. Now there's tons of video game movies, so it's not even a novelty anymore. There's always going to be a video game movie.
Yeah, I think at that time, video games were just becoming this thing, right, in the 90s, where it was like, whoa, these are legit franchises here that kids are latching onto. Yeah, we need to tap into this somehow, but they didn't really know how to do it, right? Because the Super Mario movie was completely all over the place too, and Mortal Kombat wasn't horrible, but it's essentially just a remake of Enter the Dragon.
Well, yeah, I've only seen Mortal Kombat Annihilation, which is a very fun, silly movie.
Yeah.
But that's where they try to incorporate characters, because if you remember the video games, like they just kept adding more and more characters. So I think they kind of tried to do that with the movie too, and so it's just the results are kind of ridiculous. But and it was pretty much panned, across the board. But I think if you watch it today, it's not as bad as they might have thought at the time.
Yeah, there's the nostalgia factor too for Double Dragon. I think that's like you're just like, oh, it's the 90s, and you kind of get a kick out of some of that part of it.
Yeah. That's true, and there's all these sort of stupid lines, like when one of the bad guys, they're talking about the Lee brothers, and he says, "Look, it's ugly and homely," right. and then I think as a kid, I think you think that's funny or something, but the set design's really cool from what I remember. They tried to like make it kind of like a cool set, where it's colorful and almost video game-esque, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I think it was just they didn't know how to they I don't know. Yeah, it was like they put all that money into that part of it, I think, and it made it look really good. And then with the story and everything, I think they just didn't know what to do with it, and it just ended up being. I think we were talking about with Expendables 3. It's like you've either got to go all in and make it an R-rated movie, maybe not get the kids to watch it, or you make it PG. And you cut out some of it, but then you kind of lose the older audience.
Yeah, that's a tough one for video game movie, because I can see the thinking. They probably think, oh, kids play video games, so we can't make it R.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, another problem with that is they teamed him up with Scott Wolf,
right?
And who's not a martial artist as far as I know, and so maybe if they teamed him up with someone who's more known for their martial arts abilities, it might have worked a bit better.
Yeah, and I mean, in the video game, they were supposed to be rivals for one woman's affection, and that may have been a better play, to have them maybe fight each other. Maybe so you put Mark Dacascos with somebody of his quality, in that scene, and they fight each other. I mean, at that time, Michael Jai White might have just been. I don't know if he'd done the Mike Tyson movie yet at that point.
Yeah, I don't know, but you think he would have been a match for? Like as far as being one of the Lee brothers, or are you seeing him in a different role?
No, I was thinking maybe him, or I'm trying to think of other martial artists at around that age. I think that's the problem, because even Dacascos was already in his mid-20s, I think, playing a teenager. So, I guess that's the other thing too. They weren't teenagers in the video game, so they didn't have to make them.
Yeah, I thought when I played it as a kid, I never thought. I don't know how much I thought about their age, but I guess I sort of assumed they were adults.
Right. Yeah. So I think that's the thing. Like you talk about, it's this idea that kids play video games, so we got to market to the kids. But when you think about it, right, when we were kids, we didn't really watch movies with kids in them. We watched movies with adults in them.
At least that's what we wanted to watch. Yeah,
exactly. We weren't like, oh, I'm 12, so I want to see teenagers. It was like, no, I'm 12, I want to watch Seagal fight people. I want to see Van Damme beat up people.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think people that make these movies think kids want to see other kids, but that's not always the case. Yeah.
No, I don't think anybody wants to see other kids. I think kids don't want to see other kids. Adults don't want to see other kids. It's I think maybe toddlers like to see other kids, because that's like kind of fun for them. But once you get past like 4 or 5, I think at that point you're done seeing other kids.
Yeah.
All right. Hey everybody, welcome back. So we just had a quick tech snafu, but we're back now, and
we're back.
Yeah, we're ready to wrap it up here. So why don't you guys let us know where can everybody find you?
Okay, Brett, hit with some links.
The best way is probably, it depends what you want. If you want to hear our podcast, go to iTunes, which is the Comeuppance Reviews podcast. We're on a bunch of other podcatchers such as TuneIn, Google Play, Spotify, and
iHeartRadio.
So if you want to hear the podcast, that's the way to do it. Probably iTunes is the best way, but we're on all those. Also, there's the website, comeuppancereviews.net. And if you can contact us that way. Leave a comment on any movie. We always respond. And same thing if you want to email us, usually with podcast related stuff, but anything, email crpodcast@yahoo.com. And Ty has a social media, so
yes, we have Ty Comeuppance on the Twitter. We're on Facebook under the website name, and Ty Action Rocks on Instagram. I just posted a Guardian Angel. So.
Yeah, great. I love that great Cynthia Rothrock PM Entertainment flick.
Can't go wrong. Hey, we talked about that in your very podcast.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I was going to say, the podcast. I just listened to your night movies episode.
Oh, you did. Thanks for listening, by the way.
So thanks for listening.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, by the time this when we're doing here airs, it'll been a couple days since it released. So,
okay.
But yeah, people should definitely. I mean, for me, I subscribe on iTunes because it's just the easier way for me. And it's like I just open up iTunes and it just tells me, like usually I don't check it regularly, but like Tyler's like, oh yeah, the new episode's up, so I just open up iTunes and boom, right there. And,
there it is for you.
Yeah. Gotta love the Europe at the end. Oh. That was spoiler alert for anybody. You listen to the whole thing because you're gonna get some nice Europe at the end there.
Rock the night.
Also, and if you listen all the way through the song or fast forward the song, starting with the Martini episode and this one, there will now be a little Easter egg after the song.
Oh, I love that. That's a good point. Yeah. So listen, probably that's one thing that's good about doing it with. I don't know how the other systems work. Probably Spotify's similar, but what I like about iTunes is it will kind of just start playing the next one after.
That's cool.
But actually, that's a good point because it may start playing another one on your queue. So so keep an eye out, keep a listen out when you're listening to go through the whole thing and catch that thing at the end there.
Yeah. The important thing is to just keep listening. I think that's what people need to do.
And thanks for listening to our podcast, and thanks for inviting us on your podcast.
I just want to thank you for that also.
Yeah. Yes, no, it's another great episode. This was another fun one. I think Dacascos is one. Like I said, I had seen that he was in your Hall of Heroes, and Ty and I have talked. I think in Brett as well. I think we've been on other episodes where we've talked about movies that have Dacascos, and I thought, who better to discuss his movies on this pod than having you guys on. So this was a really great episode. Another great one.
Happy went well, and we had a lot of fun. Had a lot of fun. Had some fights.
But you could sew that up. You could figure it out. Anyone who talks on Skype, there's bound to be a glitch. So it's we're back now, and I think we'll be able to finish the episode. So that's good.
I do minimal editing for this podcast, but I'm going to definitely. I mean, I could, but the way I edit, I could just put it together. But I think I'm going to actually cut the part where we lost you a bit there, and then just kind of come right back in. But people will be hearing this part not knowing.
I think that's probably the best way because you don't want people to miss any of that the conversation about Double Dragon. So I think that you got to preserve that if you can.
I totally missed that conversation because I was doing the tech snafus.
Yeah,
so Double Dragon, Scott Wolf's awesome. There you go.
That's what we were saying. Yeah.
we were just talking about we were talking about Dacascos in the sense of like a Speakman, as someone who had like a big. Because I was saying one of my honorable mentions was Only the Strong.
Okay.
And so we were just talking about that in terms of like him, having a big screen film. But then it doesn't quite work out, the way that you would have wanted for someone him. But I mean, I think again, saying it didn't work out, it's different because he's had a really great career so far. So
yeah. So I think that's a happy note to end on. So
sounds good.
Yeah,
well, thanks again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for coming on. Just some quick plugs. The site is dtvconnoisseur.blogspot.com. The novel Chad and Accounting is available on Amazon right now. You can just type in Chad and Accounting on Amazon, or you can check out the link to the author page. The Threadless, dtvconnoisseur.threadless.com. It's got those shirts that John Cross from After Movie Diner designed. So really cool stuff. But you can get mugs, all kinds of stuff there. So definitely check it out. Yeah.
Check it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Watch more Dacascos and thanks again.
For sure. I've got more Dacascos on my list after this episode.
Nice.
So hopefully everybody else, if you haven't really gotten into Dacascos, this is going to give you a good sense of, why he's someone to be watching for sure.
Okay, sounds great.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys again for coming on. It was another great one as always, and we'll probably start thinking about the next time you guys will be on here.
Maybe meatheads or something.
I think we have an idea for that.
I think we have meatheads.
Yes, exactly. Is that for you? Yeah, so that's probably the one to look at. I think it's gonna. Is that going to be on your show?
We'll figure that out
in the future.
Yeah,
we'll figure it out. But yeah, keep an eye out for.
Rest assured, we will be talking about meatheads.
We're going to be talking about meatheads the next time we all get together. Well, thank you again, guys, for coming on, and thank you everybody for listening, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
When you've had a long week and want to mix it up with something new and interesting to eat, try Blue Apron's 2 or 4 serving menu plans with those hard-to-find ingredients sure to spice up your weekend. With 60-plus options each week, you can choose from an ever-changing mix of high-quality meat, fish, vegetarian, WW recommended, and wellness offerings. Order now and get $110 off across your first 5 orders when you visit blueapron.com/unique.